The video?
He watched it, he told me.
No, he did.
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, on your, you even took notes?
Sorry, that might be gross.
I'm proud of you. All right.
Some lens wipes in my office.
I was born with one.
He was born with his own internal lens wipe. All right, so this is, we kind of swapped it up. Normally, our ALC meeting is on the third week. However, it is going to be this week because Derek is here and he's part of the ALC.
Oh my gosh, this is all for me?
It is all for you. We want to be able to introduce everyone. Before we get into the ALC portion of it, we are going to start out with bucket fills and something good. So who wants to start?
Well,
Oh, Derek, this is all about you.
gosh, I was only gone for like 10 days and came back and it's just, there's just so much energy in the building right now. And I felt like it was really comfortable coming back and being like bathed in positivity and energy and everything. I'm just ready for a good year this year. So, thanks to everybody, leadership, all the agents I've seen in the office. It's been fun.
Awesome. What else?
I
Jacob.
wanted to pass along from the Desserts, and it's for Derek, just for, yeah. Well, I don't know why you look surprised. Just, you've been helping out a lot, a lot with rental stuff, and I've actually seen you doing that from time to time. And I know they appreciate it, so just want to make sure they said thanks.
Awesome. What else? What else is good?
I heard Kevin's class yesterday was really good and energetic, so. Mhm.
What was your class on yesterday?
Who cares about subject?
Candy.
No, just kidding.
Okay.
On, right, just submitting, yeah, making and receiving offset.
Okay. Awesome. What else? Three more good things.
You know what? Okay, I'll go.
Oh,
Go ahead.
No, see, on kind of on that same note, so I went through the CE stuff the last 2 days that the collaborative put on. I think it was a lot of classes, really cool stuff. Knocking it out in 2 days, I think, like for me was personally was great.
yeah.
Like having it in a group of people like that and everybody kind of throws in input and suggestions, comments and that kind of stuff rather than sitting on a laptop, kind of hitting the button and timing out. I got more out of it, I think, that way than a lot of the content and stuff itself.
Awesome.
I'm gonna
Good to hear.
piggyback off that. I think one of the things that made yesterday's class fun is one, the collective experience. But also when you looked at, Minnetonka like showed up for that. There were a lot of course, they take the back rows, but, it was just.
I would just like to say though, today they did not.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun to, see people and it's fun to, I said to someone today, everyone is valuable, but not everyone brings the same value into the room, right? And, there are a lot of top producing agents in that room that brought a lot of value, and experience and conversation, and that was really good to have that group there. And sometimes we get things out of it, like you get free CE, but the rest of us get something out of it because you're in that space sharing your thoughts and experience and all that. And that happened in that room yesterday, so that was a good thing.
Awesome. Two more. I know there's good things going on because I've talked to multiple people. Please.
So I moved offices and it was in the middle of our family doing holiday stuff and some people here really stepped up and helped me a lot. So I wanted to say specifically, thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Heather. I really appreciate your help.
Awesome.
I'll bucket fill my client for being more open-minded and looking at different areas. Boom.
I also appreciate your client telling you not to text while you're driving. It was great. I was like, that's awesome. Can you please not text and drive? But yes, we are looking at China.
It's kind of funny because it almost feels like she feels like a mother role. Like she like feels like I'm like one of her sons, and I'm like, I'm not your son. So
She cares.
she does
cares.
care.
Getting close.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Be who she needs to be.
Yeah. Okay.
You can tell you whenever she wants to.
Yeah.
All right, here again is the January training calendar. If you haven't seen the calendars before, you can click on any of the events to be able to register. So that's a really easy fix for most of them for you. We did add a few things since last meeting, which is the MREA Book Club, which is an international training. But I think it's 1 hour each week. I've signed up, Candy signed up, I know Jacob signed up. It actually has everything on there. It's free. So in regards to if you feel like you want to just brush up on there, Jen Lewis is actually the one that's going to be teaching that. And you don't have to go every single week. You can pick which ones you go to. You just do have to sign up to be able to go onto the Zoom link for that. So I think that's a really good opportunity to reread that book.
Does
Derek.
anybody listen to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast with Jason Abrams? Yeah, you do? I just found it. And I think he's got some really good information, and it's I don't even know how often it comes out, and it kind of just pops up when my music stops playing. And there's some good information and good energy in there, so. check it out.
It is a good one.
We can
Every
put it
Monday.
on our Facebook group for the podcast too. He has good guests.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through all these because I end up going through them and then there's slides right afterwards of the things that I went through. So I'm just gonna let Lydia click right through this next one. So we will be closed on Monday, January 15th. Next.
Yeah, the Monday in a few days.
That's this Monday. That's this Monday, yes. So in like 3 days. If you're thinking of putting listings on or anything else that's happening, we will not be in the office. Obviously, you can access the office, but leadership will not be here. Our 66-day challenge, who's been partaking in that? Okay, if you don't know what it is or you're not partaking in it, it's gonna be, it started last Wednesday. It's gonna go through March 8th. It's spending 1 hour a day lead genning. So you don't have to do it for all 66 days. However, I would encourage you to do that. But every day that you actually lead gen for 1 hour, you get to put your name in the container out there on the table. And you have a chance to win a $500 gift card of your choice. And really, this is in order to help you make a habit of lead generation. I've been in communication with a ton of top agents lately. That it is interesting that when we started talking about lead gen probably 6 months ago, a lot of them were not doing it, right? Because they didn't need to. Like there was just this influx, like this inflow of leads or people just like raising their hand wanting to buy or sell. And then all of a sudden the pipeline was really, really low. So they started lead genning. Even this morning, I was talking to about 10 agents in there, Bethany, this morning, and it has shifted for them. And it wasn't because of the calls that they're making this week. It's actually inbound referrals as well as follow-up calls for people that they have called in the last 3 months. So if you feel like your pipeline is really low, this is the way to go, right? Is start making those lead gen calls in an hour a day. If you can't do an hour a day, awesome. Start with 20 minutes, then go up to the hour so that you can put your name in that bin. Any questions around this?
There's not too many, there's not too many people putting their little tickets in there.
No, and you don't have to do it here, but you do have to put your own name in it. Like you can't call us and say, hey, can you put our name in it? You have to do it on your own.
And I know more of you are lead genning, so put them in there. It's a $500 gift card.
All right. Then we have our refresh and reset. Rick, where is that this month?
Next Wednesday at the Tavern Grill, which is right across the street, right there.
Fantastic. Anything else regarding that? What the topic might be?
We haven't decided yet, but it is gonna be really interesting.
I mean, just take his word for it. It's going to be really interesting.
We had a lot of people at the last one, so it was.
There was a ton of people at the last one and there was really great conversation. I would say 20?
Yeah.
Maybe 20 to 25 people at the last one, which was really fun. There was a really awesome energy to that one. And who knows, sometimes your team leader might even surprise you and pay the bill. So you should just show up.
Yeah, that was great.
Just saying.
That was totally unnecessary and inappropriate.
More than,
Instead of been like, thank you, he's like, that was inappropriate and unnecessary.
I just like to go back in time here and do a little bit of a bucket fill. So we all had an incredible time and we left happy hour and nobody.
Happy?
We left very happy. So our team leader out of her pocket decided that because of what was happening there and the conversations that were being had, that she would generously cover everything. So it was pretty amazing. So thank you.
She better not pay a bill for the next year and a half.
Absolutely.
I did like you texting and going, is this on The Office or you?
Yeah. Tom Vance would do that a lot. Like he would pay, we would all go out to eat at certain events, things, and he would pay on his own dime. He wouldn't pay out of the market center. And he's just a nice, wonderful.
All right. Condo certification. So this is one of the trainings that are on there. It is a full 2 days. So if this is something that you work in the condo, like industry, that's what you want to specify in. This is highly recommended. Also, it is going to have CE credit. So, I know that Cindy Freud's going to be down there, who's actually an agent in the Lakes office, which is always a great person to learn from. And it will be at downtown Minneapolis, I believe, both days, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's one where you're going to have to register. Candy.
Can I just say Cindy Freud, who is putting this on, is also being nominated for like top producing
Female
of the year. So great person to learn.
Absolutely. And then we have our regional trainings every single month, or is it quarter? And it just so happens that I know you've probably seen Jason Spars doing different events for the collective. He is also doing a regional training on Wednesday, January 31st. And it's a shift workshop. He is really great. He used to be the tech ambassador there. And so when it comes to anything that has to do with command or the tech side of it, he is a phenomenal resource. So if that's something that you're struggling with or want to get better at, this would be a really great class for you to go to. We talked about last week, family reunion. We did have some other people signing up or potentially signing up for this. If you feel like, one, the culture of family reunion is huge when you go there, just the connection with the agents as well as agents across the country. But it also gives you an idea of what other people are doing, right? We know what people are doing here. We see the numbers. When you go there, you see numbers that are absolutely phenomenal, and they're not all doing the same thing. They're not all cold calling. Some are doing open houses, and you can kind of learn from individuals across the country on specific kind of niches that they specialize in. Who is going to family reunion? I'm going to ask every single week until we go to family reunion. I've signed up. These two have signed up. Anybody else in here even interested in going? Why did you two decide to sign up? And do not say it's because you have to go to an event from ALC.
Kevin?
Like, do not say that.
I signed up because I've always gotten a lot out of all of the national events. Initially, it was a lot of like nuts and bolts informational, how to generate leads, run a team, internet stuff. And now I find that the most I get out of it is the energy, hearing about how people are doing things different, and just tea times. Exactly. I mean, this one happens to be in Vegas. That's pretty fun. So,
This is true.
I mean,
You can get a hotel, I just looked, you can get a hotel in Vegas for $33 a night.
Okay, first of all. Come on.
This is a family reunion, I think. one of
Holding
Kevin's
my
first
tongue.
ones When he was an agent, and I'm like, you guys, I'm going to everyone, I'm like, and I know that Kevin's staying in a safe place, should we, do you think he's gonna be okay?
The first national event I went to, I stayed in, it's in Austin, it's called the Firehouse Hostel. And,
We're both like, oh.
struggling agents, you gotta lead with revenue, right? You gotta do the right thing. And, you can get a private room there. By the way, it's really cool. It's a really cool spot. They have a spot, like they have underneath, they have a speakeasy underneath. It's a really cool spot. However.
She does know about the
only been in
speakeasy,
the
though.
I went as, I'm married, been married for a long time. 2016, I went and said, hey, Teresa, I'm gonna go to this event. And, I went and I had a bunk bed. I woke up and there's a bra hanging.
Anyways.
However, it was like $40 a night.
You don't get that if you pay over 80.
That's right. So,
Doesn't happen.
so it was,
There's also
experience
another
go on.
option is actually buddying up with agents. So when I was an agent, I don't think I ever did not share a room with someone, right? Or there were 4 agents in one room because hotels were expensive. That also bonded us as a group of agents that were really supported in whatever we did, right? When we come back, we talk about what we learned when we came back to the market center. It was one where, hey, are you going to the next event? And I mean, I honestly, even there was one, actually the last time I was in Vegas, there were 10 of us that rented the penthouse and it was actually cheaper than if we would have rented like a room by ourselves. And it was super fun. So there's options to do that. It's really one where like, you just have to buddy up with people and it can be done. And I guarantee if you go there with an open mind and you actually are set to learn something and bring it back and implement it, whatever that trip cost you, you're going to earn back at least 10 times. And I truly believe that. Like, this is not, I'm not getting anything from you being there, except for the fact of getting to know you better as agents, because it's really fun to be able to chat with you when you're down there in a setting that's not here. So I highly recommend if you're like on the fence about it, or hey, I might not be able to afford it, ask other agents, would you want to share a room with me? Or, you know, what does that look like?
That's how it all started.
And also the actual airport or the airline fees, if you do Sun Country and you fly not awesome like timeframes, it's like $129 for a flight. So just FYI.
be some compromise on the airline and somehow.
I didn't even compromise on the airline,
It
but
doesn't have to be a
there was an
$2,000
option.
trip, right? And I think, you know, you asked why, I go as well. There's something about, I go for myself. I think that I also get to bring back something. So, I think that's one of the reasons I go is I like bringing back, hey, I heard this here. And the reality is if I thought $2,000 is probably what the trip costs, right? You buy the ticket and everything. I think we could create a similar experience amongst us if we all, and did it for less. The thing is, we just don't do that, right? So, the time that we get with, an individual learning their story or, masterminding in a way that is really a mastermind, not, or hearing from people that, I think that's the value. Oftentimes the value of that doesn't just come through the whole spot and you go, there's value, you go, it was this portion of that. And Jake used to say to me, Kevin, just come back with one takeaway, right? You don't have to have the whole thing downloaded. Just come back with one takeaway that brings value and you're gonna change this area of your business. That's pretty good. That's what I like.
Tony. Yes, you can.
Well, when I started in the business, I was in for maybe a year or maybe 18 months or something, and I heard about this event that was coming up, and I'll just make the plug for Mega Camp. This was the first event that I went to. Family Reunion is like twice the size or 5 times the size, just more opportunity for class things. But I was in the industry, but there were certain gaps in my education and certain gaps in what my understanding was of what it meant to be or what the activities were that were required to be a successful agent. And when I went to Mega Camp, it was almost like I'm such a visual learner. Like I saw and I experienced the behavior of all these other higher producing agents. And like when I came back, it was like all these missing pieces all kind of clicked and came together. So it wasn't like there was like some big aha, like I learned, you know, some specific thing at one of the classes I was in. It was more like it was so much, it was hard to grasp and come back and say what I learned and what I experienced. But then I came back that next year and my business was 5x what it was the year before. And then the following year, then I went to Family Reunion, and then I went to Mega Camp again, and then I went to another event, and then all of a sudden my business was 10x of that year. And all of a sudden, you know, there's this really huge business and huge life as a result of being around these people. And then you plug in and you're like, okay, well then you can dive deeper into all these little micro subjects that you want. Like I started pursuing wealth building. But I met them at those events. And I knew them because of those events. So then I had this other opportunity that opened up where I could learn from these people that I would have never had.
And then your picture was like everywhere at family reunion. I thought really cool because I could see you and
Well,
Nicole.
that was because of Nicole.
See that picture out there.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a fair, like that's huge and everyone gets something different from it, which that's what makes it so, like such an opportunity not to miss, right? Cause some might come back very, like, this is what I'm gonna implement and some it's larger, right? It just depends on where you're at in your business.
Oh, go ahead,
You
Darren.
can search topics by topic, but you can also search by presenter too. So if you have people that you feel a connection to or you learn stuff from, you can go specifically to their classes, or if their mentality is like your mentality, or if you like their energy, you can go and visit that. I get as much out of that, listening to Cody Gibson. Like,
He's good.
he's great. And if you have an opportunity to listen to him live, you get, I find myself like going back to the bold classes that we had with Cody, and he was super, super impactful. And he still is. I just don't hear the voices often. So.
You know, one of the things I think we have as a challenge in our office is, we have a lot of top producing agents.
Speaking of, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Is there someone potentially here that's on a panel at family reunion that wants to share? So we actually have an agent. That's gonna be speaking on a panel. So Jose was actually selected to be a speaker there. So. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people.
It'd be a lot more people there.
I'll turn it on.
Have something like that I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you have something like that, and I was waiting for him to actually raise his hand, and he wouldn't. That means that we're surrounding ourselves with some really like great business owners, right? And he's gonna get connections that he never had prior to that, which allows an opportunity. And to be quite honest, you're like, I wasn't gonna go, right? Like, so everyone has those feelings. And I think when you come back, it's gonna be twofold. You're gonna give back to the people that are there, and you're gonna receive something in the end too. So if anything else, to support someone else that's in our office as he's gonna be speaking there is a huge piece too. Okay, Kevin, you can go on with what
So
you
what I
were
was gonna
saying.
say is, I
Sorry,
think
Jose.
sometimes that's really helpful.
there, but.
It's really helpful that we have a lot of top producing people in our office. And I think one of the challenges that we have all the time is how do we continue to bring top producers value, right? And so we look and we go, well, Christy, Bethany, Tony, Brahma, you guys didn't raise your hand. There has to be. And what we have to remember is they went through that to get to where they are, right? And that's what I loved about what you shared, Tony, is that brought you extreme value to now get to where you are in that spot. And that's what I would challenge the rest of us is to go, we might not have a huge group going, but the people that are doing huge businesses did go, and it brought them value, and it can bring us value as well as we develop our business. Is that fair from?
Oh, yeah, I 100%, it's the best money I've ever spent, and I went maybe 14 times.
A lot.
Derek's like, I'm at 23.
I don't know either.
You spend the same money, you're a different, to Tony's point, you're a different place, right? The river, the man, whatever. The analogy is that you're a different place each time you go, so you get something different out of it. And it changed and evolved over the seasons. And right now I'm not going because I'm at a gymnastics meet in Tampa, right? Like, so otherwise I might actually.
How are you?
Yeah, well, that's impressive.
I think too, when, at that time,
I just.
there was a group of us, and I was thinking of like generations of agents, because there was a group of us that were, generally the same age, that were all going at the same time. And I think we had that commonality too. And even though we didn't necessarily spend all of our time together, I think we were at least, relatively similar places in our businesses. We were all interested in growing and making change. And I think, you know, you can look at each other and figure out what that means as far as like who you want to partner up with and who you want to just be in business with.
I think anybody in the room that's successful that is, I'll speak for the group that is maybe deciding not to go for various reasons. It's because they have the choices now, because they've gotten their business to a level that doesn't require an advancement in skill level. Right? Or that, you know, they kind of have the vision and it is good to kind of check in on it. I never understood why they they always say go to all of them every year. And until you do that, and go to all three, they're strategically placed throughout the year for times of burnout, right? And excitement, right? This is, you know, opportunity, optimism time, you know, lots of energy. And then you get a refresh with mastermind. You get to think in what's working for people, what's not, what's broken in my systems, what do I need to pivot to make it through that, you know, the second, third quarter. And then you go to mega camp and you just get a chance to get away from your business and then look and learn and have high level conversations. And they're always, you know, kind of, you can put yourself in groups that match your level, right? You don't have to feel like you're the dumbest person in the room or you're scared to say or ask a question, right? You can be with people that are of similar caliber and there's always a variety in that. So there's always good takeaways. You know, if you look at that, the course list on there, it's like bonkers the amount of content you can grab. I used to always say, and this is helpful, I actually just pulled up flights because I used to say if I left right now after day one, I would have gotten my money's worth. And I always wanted to give myself the permission to leave after one day, like just fly in for a day. That's all I need, right? I have big family commitments.
You could actually fly in at 7 and do red eye at
And-
12:30 and not even have. a-
Save on the
Well,
hotel.
I wanted to.
I did that to make sure that.
Is that 33?
You're like 12:30.
Wait, no, you can't upgrade first class.
Mel Robbins, right? And I'm like, God, can I fly in for one day? And like the gymnastics tournament, the gymnastics tournament are all on that weekend. Like it just logistically.
Back on another
won't work,
flight, go
but
back.
I'll be down with it.
And Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, like,
Crazy.
if nothing else, it's not even about Keller and like the business. Listen to them as like a personal growth
Wait,
option.
Tony Robbins is gonna be
Yeah,
there?
and Mel
Yeah.
Robbins. Ooh.
Now everybody's signing up.
You know, the other piece of it that I thought was super exciting is that when on the way, the last time wasn't the last time, I was a few times ago. But on the way, I was on the plane and the woman sitting kitty corner to me was Diana Kokoska. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she kind of wrote the book for Keller. So her and her son and their team were there. So I had a 45-minute conversation with Diana on the plane before I even got to the event. And then Christy was at the party with Tony Giordano, and he's kind of like the, what would you call
Social media
him,
guru?
like the tech guru, like, I don't know, social media guru, multi-million-dollar listing luxury agent. You know, we were at a private party with him it just happened to be something that we ended up going to. And then Derek, do you remember who he rode back this was when we were on the island? We rode back in the taxi with one of the keynote speakers. What was her name? She was one of the executives.
She was really good.
Yeah, so there's opportunities to meet, like, obviously, and Jose, you could meet him too, which is pretty cool. But there's opportunities to meet some of the top people, like literally face to face. It's crazy. Like it is, even though there's thousands of people there, there's interactions with the people that have been running this company since the beginning.
So this was not like, it's like, this ended up being longer than I ever thought. But the fact that top producers are saying all the things and I wasn't gonna cut them off. You should be going to this event. Like, that's it. That's bottom line. If all of them are saying this, there's nothing else that really needs to be said. And in regards to making it work, I guarantee you could make it work if you want to, and there's a growth opportunity. So I'm gonna cut that off just because I don't want it to be the whole meeting. But obviously if they're saying these things, and again, I didn't prep them to say any of it. So, that means something. And the three of us are going, and Heather, so far.
Maybe Christy.
Maybe Christy. Jeff also might, I even prompted Jeff Holmers that he could have a trip to Vegas and it just so happens to be family reunion, so he might be coming too.
Tony Robbins on Wednesday, or no. So if you wanna fly in for a day.
With Christy.
Yeah.
All right. So this is our very first 2024 ALC meeting. The ALC this year is Derek, Jelena, and Kevin. I'm super excited about this. Other years, there's been more people. And I think it's been harder sometimes to have a solidified vision or just kind of where we want to go as an ALC for the office and also for themselves. So we're going to cover a few things. We decided on a book that we're going to be reading together, which is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. And so we'll kind of be starting in February talking about different little nuggets from that book. For today, we actually watched a video about vulnerability, and they're kind of doing takeaways on that. The question that I asked them, they'll speak to that in a second. But then we're going to go over where our goals are for the year individually, and then I'll go over where my goals are personally as a team leader for appointments, agents, company dollar, and profit. So if you've never been to one of these meetings before, it is essentially myself and them speaking about their business, as well as the Market Center's business on a high level, as well as reflection from the book that we're reading. So if you want to read it with us, feel free to grab it on Amazon because it's well worth the read, or on Kindle or like an Audible. So do I hear a motion to start the January ALC meeting?
Motion to start.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Awesome. Can you click? Oh, she's not there.
Oh, click forward.
Yeah. So it was super interesting. Last night I was prepping some things for this meeting, and I looked back at a memory that came up on Instagram, and I had actually posted this a year ago yesterday, as I'm listening to Brene Brown yesterday as well. And I'm like, I don't know what her, like, our anniversary, I guess, on January 9th. But for me, I think it's like a cycle of life, right? When you go into a new year, there's a lot of things that you reflect on, and we make resolutions and we make different intentions, and you kind of reflect on, hey, what was my life last year and where do I want to go? This quote, I think, was kind of pertinent to what we watched as well. And I just kind of asked the three of them, how does this relate to your business, right? And I'm going to let them answer that question on whatever regard that they would like to.
I'm an Audible learner. Will someone read it?
You can read it.
Yes.
Can everyone see what it says?
It's a little blurry, but it's because I couldn't find a like.
Actually read
It's
both.
okay.
Yeah, read it out loud.
Get Melanie.
True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Brene Brown.
Thank you, Melanie.
I read that book, by the way. It's pretty good.
Here, do you want to start?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. I mean, in true form.
I'm
I should
living it.
probably
No,
go.
it's not.
Here.
That's not my role.
So we had our first ALC gathering, but
Like our
meeting,
planning, yeah.
accountability, whatever piece after, not even at our planning.
Oh,
But last week after, Kami got up and shared her goals and then said, hey, will everyone share, will someone else share what your goals are? And we started talking about why people are willing and why they're not even willing to do that. And so we, went on that vulnerability and, shame spot, right? Like, lots of us didn't hit our goals this last time. There's probably still some shame coming from the last year into that as we have to be vulnerable. So I love Brene Brown and the whole idea of, so the piece that stuck out to me is, the last part of true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it just requires to be who you really are. And I think sometimes, especially in our company, there's this sense of, it's not a sense of you're not good enough, but there is a sense of double it or 10x it or do something in that kind of mindset. And what happens with the positives of that is it can expand our brains, right? The challenge with that, if we are people that receive that from shame, is we go, well, now I'm sharing a goal that's not really my goal. And if the goal, what we also know is our goal is really not our goal, we don't hit it, right? And then how are we gonna tell someone, well, now it's not only our goal, but now I gotta tell someone that I was 50% out of goal, which really was 100% for me, except you told me to double it, so now I failed at something that really my goal was 100% of it. And we were at the, Kami and I spent a lot of time together. And,
He says that with the most excitement ever.
and if you don't know, Kami and I are different, right? In our different things, and I think we complement each other pretty well on some of that stuff. I think Derek said that when you first became TL, I said, I'm really excited about this because, there's a difference there. And, so I go to Kami all the time with suggestions of, hey, this is how you can do that, or hey, this is how. And Derek said, we hired you for a reason. Don't lose who you are. And I thought there's that challenge sometimes as we're developing the two different people, that we have to remain in who we are and live out that spot of that piece. So that's the spot. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires to be who you are.
I watched the video 1.5 times and, I failed to relate it back to my business. However, in like hitting some of the bullet points from her, I felt like I hadn't listened to her previously, or if I had, I didn't know about it. And she was like really smart, had a lot of really good thought-provoking information, and the courage to be imperfect was one of her things. And I think I know it's something that I struggle with all the time, about feeling like it needs to be this way, or it has to be 100% flawless. And the reality is, in this business, is if that's what you're shooting for, that's just really unrealistic, and or maybe very unrealistic. And while it might happen, that being what you expect all the time may not be realistic, and it may not be, or it may be keeping you from doing more. And more might be more transactions, it might be more money, but it also might be like more free time, or more time to actually live your life. And this issue with like not doing things because it's not 100% clear, or you think there's a chance there's failure there. Well, there's failure in everything. Like, you're not going to learn anything unless you fail. So we might as well just get busy failing. Get started failing. The compassion to be kind to themselves first. They had connection as a result of an authenticity, and they fully embraced vulnerability and it being necessary. And these are things that she's saying are moving people forward in a conversation with her therapist.
Yeah, this is what I thought was interesting, and we can send out what the clip was. It's a 20-minute clip that she talked about vulnerability, but it was interviews with highly successful people, right? And what's interesting is she obviously is a highly successful person. She has multiple books. People look to her as like, she knows what she's doing. And part of her vulnerability is, I love it because she's similar to like how I would say I function, where it's like, you know, not super gushy and emotional and whatever. And she's like, I'm not even friends with people like that, really, because it makes me feel uncomfortable. That's me. Like, I'm like, you can stop talking about your feelings now. And she had to like work through that piece. And that's part of that kindness, is like just being kind to yourself and not having the walls up, because you can't actually be kind to anyone else and connect with them. And the whole reason we're talking about this is not because, you know, it's a psychology class or anything, but this business is about connection, right? Like, we all say that we're in this business to help people. And if you can't connect with them, we are really transactional, and that's not sustainable over time. Like, it's just not, right? To be able to 5X, 10X your business, you have to be able to connect with human beings, and you have to be able to get referrals, and you have to have, like, help them feel a certain way in the process, or at least like when they need you. Jelena.
Yeah, I think it's covered.
Oh, don't even. Don't even.
Well, you did such a good job.
So next time, we'll kind of wrap that piece up, but next time we're doing the first portion and, a little note for the next ALC in February. It's really interesting because we'll be talking about exhaustion and people that are high performers, and what feeling exhausted really is. And I think you'll be surprised that it's not necessarily the workload, but it has to do with one of the goals or the intentions that we have of being lonely in a workplace or being lonely when you're working actually leads to more exhaustion than working together and succeeding with other people. That'll be next week's kind of book excerpt. I do want to go over what we have as a goal as an ALC. In our investor meeting in December, people brought up to Jake and Jen and to the investors, what is the goal of the ALC, or what was the goal of the ALC last year? There was a goal, but obviously it got lost throughout the year. So next slide, Lydia. These were three things that we are kind of at the top of our list as an ALC. So the growth of each one of their businesses, as well as the Market Center's business, which again, that's gonna happen with just kind of focus on their accountability as well as what they need to grow their business this year. Number two is the growth and developing of different leaders in the Market Center. Truly, there are leaders that are just kind of sitting out there that just haven't found the opportunity to lead yet. So we just talked about how do we, as an ALC and a leadership team, help develop other leaders that are within this office. And then number three is cultivating and maintaining a culture of collaboration, growth, learning, and fun. I think I spelled that wrong, but it was really late last night. And I think number three is one of the ones that's most important to us, is through us growing other leaders and them growing their business. I think the fun and the learning based mindset is gonna just kind of keep flowing out from the ALC. Would you guys agree with that? Do you have anything to add to these goals or kind of your perspective on them?
I think collaboration is one of the biggest things about Keller Williams. It was so different from where I was previously, and that's just, there's just such a large opportunity for us to learn stuff every day, just by, like, through osmosis of being around other people who are doing it and sharing, and there's just so much to be learned.
I think this year we wanted to focus on growing our business, and that's always been something we've talked about in all of our ALC meetings, but really tracking that and making sure we're sticking to our plan or adjusting depending on, and that's not just units or contracts, but that's actually, you know, how many times we're making out, how many dials we're making, or doors we're knocking on, and being specific about what that means, so that way we can help facilitate that throughout the marketplace and be, you know, lead by example.
So to be really fair, we've already tracked the last few years, appointments, contracts, closed units, company dollar, revenue, and profit. That's what the Market Center tracks in here, and they end up doing appointments, contracts, closed units, and profit. You actually asked for more accountability on that, right? We are now going to also be tracking contacts before the appointments, as well as reach outs or dials. And it was one where it was allowing you to say, okay, where are we at? If I'm not making these appointments, what are my actual conversions? Because I don't know what that looks like. And that's a really cool place to be for me, is when they're asking for more accountability, or I want to track this. Because in other years, I would have to probably say, when it was like, this is what we're tracking, it feels really like gross and yucky sometimes, because it's like, do I have to, like, I don't want to know that. And this year we've all decided that it's one where we're all open to doing that and actually want to do it. So that was a really cool thing for them to add this year. That being said, Bridge Realty is calling me right now. Just kidding. Well, not kidding, it actually is, but who wants to start with their goals for 2024? Actually, I'll start with the Market Center goals. So for appointments, the appointments for the Market Center for me is 480 appointments. Heather, do you have the 135 by chance?
I'll go grab it.
It's right here. What does that break down to? I don't.
Your appointments?
Yeah, it's 200, I think, R2s, which R2s are anyone that is 7 units and above. It's I believe 200 R1s from 1 to 7 transactions, and then it's 80 brand new appointments. So it is specifically broken down for what those appointments look like and what that ends up being for what we're gonna end up grossing as well. For the gross agents, our goal is 60 agents. That is 10 R2s. Again, that's anyone 7 transactions and above, 20 R1s and 30 brand news. Our net for that, right? Because there's obviously attrition and people leave or ice their license, is 15 net from that 60. And our company dollar on an annual scale is 655,820, and then our profit is 75,000. So when we go at that for a monthly goal, it's 40 appointments that I will set. It is 5 agents gross each month, and then goal is being 3 agents net. And then the GCI goal each month, so for me, that's company dollar, that's coming in from you agents, is 54,652. And the profit is 6,250 each month. This month, tracking halfway through, I'm at 12 appointments set, so I'm slightly behind on that goal. I should be at about 18. No growth agents in so far. We did lose 1 agent. We are tracking company dollar at 8,149, and profit we won't have until the end of the month.
Awesome. Our goal this year is 400,000 GCI. We intend to get through 40 transactions, 20 list and 20 sale. And we've been at about a 50-50 split for a while. So we think that's realistic. Last year, one of our shortcomings was listings. So that ties right back to me and lead generation on my part for those listings. And I can very honestly say that I did not lead generate last year as I have in the past. And so that's something we're changing.
And you've shifted a little bit this year in regards to even coming back during vacation time or like time in Miami.
Yes.
To make sure that you're staying on pace.
Yes.
Awesome. Elena.
So this year looks a little different for me. I've created the Mo Real Estate team. So Danielle has joined my team and I'm no longer an independent agent. And so our goal is 52 transactions for the year. And I'm a little bit nervous about that goal because previously I've hit 30 or more transactions personally. However, last year I did not. And it was due to a lack of focus and a lack of lead generating, I would say. And so this year is going to change for me. And so with that, I think I have 166 contacts a week to reach. To be honest, I haven't tracked what the conversion rate is for how many dials I have to do to get a contact and how many of those contacts actually lead to an appointment. So that'll all be something I'm going to have to figure out in the first couple of weeks / months. So hopefully that goes down because 166 seems like quite a few. But that's my weekly goals for the year.
My annual goals are 40 appointments, 30 contracts written, 24 closed transactions, GCI of 300, and agents referred 12. And then my personal are potentially walk or run 1,000 miles this year. I have not depleted all the way, but I have been pulling from my cash account, and I want to put 60 grand back into a cash account. There's a lot of freedom in to be able to say, I can do that. And I'm noticing that whether it's just pay for my kids' college or if it's invest in something or if it's whatever, that's one of the things I want to get back up. And then the other part of me, I used to put like 12 books read or whatever. And I think there's value in having a, development thing. But this time I put, 350 podcasts listened to. So I want to listen to 350 episodes of a podcast, which they're what, an hour?
350 podcasts. I was like,
Yeah,
that's like a podcast a day.
It's an episode
Really?
a day. It's a little, I mean, it's an episode a day and I'll get migraines once in a while and can't listen to it, but
What
it's.
subject?
What's that?
What subject?
All different kind of things. So like, right now I have an Eaglebrook podcast on there. I have a, Andy Stanley podcast on there, a Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast on there. Dax Shepard, has one on there where he's interviewing different people. That's fun. What's that? Oh yeah, Armchair Expert. I got, addicted to Business Wars. So I listened to Business Wars. I listened, by the way, at 1.5 speed. It's like the appropriate spot. And so, and I figure if I combine walking or running with this, it's pretty easy. It's not hard. It just have to be intentional about it. So yeah, someone asked me, so I gave up the alcohol. Oh, yeah,
No, you ate-
actually it was a different something last year. It was actually a different spot. I shared with one person, my goal to wear a flannel that I wore a long time ago. And, he's the only other person besides my wife that knew I was doing it. And, so I sent him the picture and said, what was the hardest thing? And what I realized, it's not hard. It's just intentional. So once I put that, I would put on that shirt like every other week or something just to go, oh man, where am I at? And it's not, the work isn't hard. It's just intentionally being focused on that. And I think that's what tracking does for us, right? Is how do we track along the way? It's that intentionality.
And I didn't share like, so that was the office goal. So part of that and the dials for me is actually 12,000 dials a year. Right now I'm at 358 in the first 2 weeks, or a week and a half. And then contacts is 4,800 contacts. I'm at 101. Appointment set is the 480. I'm at 12. And then I have grateful cards. There's 240 is the goal. 52 newsletters. And then on the personal side for me, miles biked is 2,000 miles biked, 288 journal entries, 288 workouts, read 750 hours, listen to 15 podcasts, and no alcohol for 180 days are my personal goals. When you're going into these goals, I think, we're a week and a half in and you make resolutions, intentions, and sometimes you fall behind already. I don't know where we were. Oh, I was actually in the team leader accountability group. And one of the team leaders was like, well, I'm already going to be behind in January. And I was like, what? You don't have to be behind in January, right? Like in the team leader role, in regards to agents coming in, I obviously cannot control all the time agents going out, but I could talk to an agent today and they could sign today, right? Like it's just like you taking a listing appointment. They could sign today or they don't. It's a matter of if I have to like up, if I'm already pre-planned who's coming in February, awesome, that's a bonus. But at the same time, if we have 0 in right now, halfway through, potentially have 4 that are going to be in this month. As of right now, I really, on my end, need 4 for the next 2 weeks or week and a half that are already licensed to come in. And if you're behind, start over the next day. Like it is literally day by day, right? Like if I'm thinking of 180 days of no alcohol, I kind of want to be like, oh man, that gin and tonic sounds really good, right? But if it's just today, right? Today, my goal is to make 50 dials, work out, bike 10 miles, and not drink any alcohol, right? That's the goal for today. Can I accomplish that today? Absolutely, I can. But if I'm thinking of it for the next like week, 3 weeks, the next 6 months, that's super overwhelming, right? So each day I go into this tracker and I write in where I'm at. It says exactly how many dials I did today. It says exactly how many contacts and exactly how many appointments I set. And it's really good to go in there some days, like yesterday, when I did 100 dials, I only made 21 contacts, but I set 4 appointments, right? One day it could be 50 dials, 30 contacts, and no appointment. But that doesn't mean that I failed that day. I did what I said I was going to do, and it's all going to equal out with the consistency. Tony.
Sometimes it's even small. The
Sometimes it is, yeah. And at the same time, like, how committed are you to it? For me, they asked, you know, what's gonna stand in the way? And usually people are like, oh, I'm gonna stand in the way. And I'm like, this year, nothing is standing in the way. Like, nothing is going to, because 50 dials, I know, takes 1 hour. 1 hour of my day. I should be at least working 8 hours a day. And if one of those hours is lead gen, I know that that can happen. Jacob.
Kami, I meet with you every week, so you know this, you can attest to it. I fall behind on my goals every other week. Every other week, or every other week, I miss something. I either miss a workout or I miss reading, something does not happen. That happened consistently all year last year, and I hit 4 out of 5 of my goals. Just because I was like, all right, well, gotta do 2 workouts this week. It needs to happen. And it's more about tracking consistency. It's fine to fall behind.
And one of the
on
goals
average,
was,
but-
you just didn't know even how to measure that necessarily. Is why it did, like, right? That was a learning lesson on that piece.
But yeah, I hit all of them. And there were tons of times where I fell behind and I hated it, but it was just a matter of tracking every single week and going to accountability every single week and doing it anyway. And on the note of like, sometimes it's too much to think about the next week, sometimes too much to think about the day. I just think about, what am I doing like next? What's the next thing I'm gonna do? Because I gotta do a handful of things and I'm gonna talk about it again on Tuesday. So what do I gotta do by then so Kami's not gonna be mean to me?
Oh, I'm not me.
No,
I'm not me.
That's right, Kami's not. But so Kami doesn't have a stern voice. Hey. Yeah, see?
I asked questions
Well, yeah.
sternly.
Yeah, well, you do the perfect thing, which is, okay, you didn't hit your goal. Are you committed to still hitting it?
It also doesn't necessarily sound like that.
Yeah, but like,
It feels
but
like
that's
that.
how it feels to me. But yeah, and then every week it's just, okay, what am I doing next? What needs to happen when I get home today for that to happen? You know, is that laying down for an hour so I can work out later? Sure. Is that working out right away? Because I know I'm not gonna do it if I say I'll do it later. It's just literally, what's the one thing you're gonna do next? Like that Brooke Gary group.
Yeah, it's super weird. No, and that's fair. I'm like, it was funny because I talked to Heather about it and I think you even asked, you were like, is it helpful? Because we are super precise with our meeting. Like I have a half hour in there and he's in there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Like, anything else? He's like, I didn't make this. I did make this. This is what happened. And he's like, okay, thank you. Because the whole point of that whole interaction is honestly like he's being accountable to himself, but also to someone else to say, ask the question. Right? Like what else, what came in the way of that? Right? Was it schedule? What was it? And then you shift it the next week. I mean, it literally, I don't think we've ever taken over 20 minutes. Ever. So.
Isn't it you're 92% more likely to hit your goal if you're accountable to it?
Oh, yeah.
If someone holds you accountable.
I wouldn't do it
I
if
mean,
I
it's
didn't
a
give it to
huge
me
number.
at all, ever.
It's a huge number.
We have 0 minutes left. So, do you have any closing remarks about goals or?
Does everybody have written goals? Yes.
On paper or on the computer?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you've never written down a goal again, I don't necessarily care where you wrote it. It could be in a text message to yourself. It could be in the notes in there. The thing is write it down and frequent that often, right? Because I'm a super accountable person, but there's things that we went through our 135 and we never revisited our 135 as a market center. I was like, oh, that was on our goal. Right? Not because we weren't achieving other things, but that wasn't top of mind. And then it just didn't happen. Like that's human nature, right? My vision board is the background on my phone. Like everything that I shared in that newsletter, it's on the back of my phone. So that when I feel like I want to go on Instagram and scroll, I'm like, okay, that's the goal. I need to go make some more calls because I didn't make them today. And that's not a guilty feeling. I am committed to that. And I don't get to do these things until I do them. And that's just what works for me.
So writing down a goal and then sharing it with at least 5 other people or something.
And so I challenge you, I mean, last week when I asked, hey, do you want to share your goals? There were a lot of people that were like, absolutely not. Right? Like, I think 3 people shared their goal.
So
I
that's
shared
a wish
like,
or a dream. Right?
yeah. And I'm like, I would love for this to feel so safe for you. And maybe it's not even safe. Maybe there's a fear there. Get over the fear and let's share our goals so that if you're walking down the hall and, you see Rachel, you're like, hey, how are those, 25 buyers that you wanted this year? How cool would that feel? Versus just like, hey, how are you doing? I mean, that's great. I love that too. But in order to actually push each other, and there might be a moment where she's like, man, I can't believe you even remember that.
One of the things.
That's a cool environment.
One of the things I appreciate is I walk by your office, Bethany, and I see pictures of the agent that must have closed that transaction or something. And last week you said you'd be willing to put something up on your 411 or whatever. And I think that can go really well if we ask questions in the right way and that really challenge them to go forward without the shame, without the guilt, without the whatever. I think that could be an awesome spot. And I know it's risky. So if you're willing to post, we're willing to post, right? We just did. So you have permission to ask any one of us at any time, hey, where are you at goal? And the cool thing is if we're tracking, then we know where we're at. But then if we all start to do that with each other, I think that together that's where we can really start to control some of those things that we have for goals about market share and all those different things. Right?
I agree.
Did you share what app you were using to track all these big, long goals for the daily task?
It's a really fun Google sheet.
Oh, Audible, I bet.
So that's my really fun app is
Do you have?
multiple Google Sheets.
Um,
If you have an app, that
I
is
have
awesome.
an app, and I wasn't sure, I mean, it was years ago that I did like the 14-point day with the goal around each point. But no, that's why I asked, I wasn't sure. There's probably a much better one.
If someone finds one, let me know.
Someone mentioned one yesterday in one of the trainings that it was like a tally, like a how many days, like a sequencing days of like hitting each item.
Yeah.
And you click them off each day. I don't know that it would tally it, but I bet you could see the report of how many times you hit your daily goal of like your 1 hour of lead gen or your 10 miles, right? And it's like a streak. It's some streak out. I'll find it. That was the word.
You like the affirmation and the like the medals and the.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
wanna see like all my.
You wanna see,
badges.
and then it like, yeah, all right.
What's your snap streak?
I know.
Anyway, do I hear a motion to end the ALC portion of the meeting?
Motion did.
Second,
Yes.
awesome. Then we have,
Oh my God, we're so over time.
okay.
No,
We
serious.
just talked about attitude, positivity, Melanie, you read so well. Are we able to give about 5 minutes for them to introduce themselves? Can we hang out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony says 2. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, well, hey, I don't need.
Come up here.
Gosh, okay, well.
That means I do. Both of you.
I think most people know who I am. I don't know. Melanie Dunkler, All American Title. So
Tammy's hiding behind me. so.
I feel like I did a few kind of more brief intros of our company at the whole collective meeting, but I never did it specifically for this office. So I just want to let everybody know who we are and that we're here as a resource for you. Jake Lures and Jen Briggs chose us as a title company for this office. That's a preferred vendor. And so I just wanted you to know that we're here for you. Even if we're not in transaction with you or you're not using us, you can call us anytime. You can ask us any questions. We have a lot of great resources for you as well. We do a Monday email. I know you get it, right? Where it gives like tips and tricks for agents, advice on the market, and a link to our latest podcast, which if you haven't listened to our podcast, have you?
Have not.
And by the
Actually,
way,
I have. Yes,
the
I
All
have.
American Dream podcast, we
Yes,
keep under a
I've
half an
listened.
hour, so people don't get too
We
tired
just
of
need
listening
one of our
to
agents
it.
on that for us to listen to it.
Okay, who wants to be on it?
On it last.
I already was
on it.
Oh, you were, weren't you?
you?
Yes, you were on it. Oh, you should listen to it. But anyways, that's a really good thing we do, and we're doing classes every month. We're doing different events. I have a couple different events coming up. I'll get you the info, share it. And Tammy is somebody that I've been bringing to these meetings. We're gonna try to come to these every week if we can, or even other classes that you have here. You can become familiar with her. She's been a processor for 20-some years. I don't even want to talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, as title, we don't come with any like fun stats or good news about interest rates, but we can offer a good closing experience. So a little bit about me, it'll be my 21st year in title. I did a small blip at Edina Realty as a transaction coordinator a long time ago, but mostly title, and I wore a lot of hats in title. So I work a little differently than a traditional closing team. I'm the team lead, so I'm the main point of contact from purchase agreement to closing date. And then the closing date, the closer takes over and works their closing magic. So I'd love to be a resource, or if you're, fine with your closing, that who you're using now, I would love to be a second resource for you too, because we're gonna get busy in 2024, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so if you guys ever have any questions, we're here for you. And I just wanted you to know who we are. And you'll see more of Tammy around. Anyone have any questions or anything?
We might even get her up in front of this team meeting
I
more
mean,
often.
I love coming here. I love sharing her goal.
What are your goals?
No.
Become a real estate.
You're calling her tomorrow.
Add her to the list.
Do you guys have any questions at all? Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Tammy. I think we got all the slides, right?
I Googled streaks habit tracker.
Oh, gosh.
So the one I used to use was productive habit tracker, and that looks not as fun as all the new ones. So like, there's a few cool ones in there that are like way of life, or you can put lots of different things, and it gives you fun little graphs. So if you don't like, I would never remember to go update my spreadsheet on a daily, but if this one chirps at me, then I could mark off at the end of the day at a certain time what I either did or didn't do. That's why they work for me.
You might just need to get you in an accountability group so that you get in the habit.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. All right, wants and needs. Do we have any new listings, buyer needs that we want to share clean?
I have a new listing coming up at 5101 Aldridge in South in Minneapolis. It'll go for, listed about $850.
The old malt shop.
It's a
No.
super cool house. It's right on the corner. It's an amazing home. And we're gonna be doing photos on Monday, so we'll do a little coming soon, and then
What's
I
the
will
Bed
be
Bath?
inviting you all.
Bed Bath.
4-bed, 4-bath. The big 2-story. It's one of those houses where you're driving through South Minneapolis and you look at it and you're like, this is an impressive house. This is a really cool place to live.
When's it available to show?
Probably 2 weeks.
Coming soon?
Yeah.
Plus, you're
850,
only like
right?
a 5-minute drive for
8:50.
me, so one of you could buy it and we could hang out, right?
You could bike over. Amy will bike to your house.
Oh, I could
Photos.
buy it. Not the way.
No, we're taking them on Monday.
Wow, any other buyer?
Partially,
I
she's
have
got a
a
family room in it.
listing coming up next month. It's 500 in Shorewood. It's a 1.5 acre tear down / remodel opportunity. And then one in South Minneapolis, Kingfield, 600, 2,700 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath. That should be on next week.
How much was Shorewood?
500.
We've got 2 listings coming up as well. One is in Minnetonka Schools, 4-bed, 3-bath, 2-car, split level on a cul-de-sac, super cool. And then we've got one coming in Minnetonka. Oh, that's 500-ish. And then another one around 550. Few minutes from the office here. 5-bed, 4-bath, 2-car garage, 2-story. 550 shit. Average.
I got a listing that's going on today in Long Lake for $590. That's fully remodeled house, Orno Schools. Then I've got one going on tomorrow, Maple Grove, which is $635. That's a big, pretty, your standard, lots of wood. You have anybody who really likes wood, it's a great house. It's beautiful, like you really wouldn't want to paint it. It's stunning, and somebody really put a lot of money in redoing all the woodwork. So if there's somebody that really likes that feel. And then I've got a listing coming on Aubrey Court in Eden Prairie for like 8 something. And that back up to Lake Riley, but no access or anything like that, other than like a common beach area for the neighborhood. But it's pretty, that'll be kind of updated, that'll be staged. And then I have a buyer need for a typically like a 3,000 square foot townhouse on the 394 corridor, like 700 at 1.1, and there's 3 on the market.
Because this is the most that people have said in a month. This is great. This is really great.
You got a townhome in EP, if you take Mitchell down to the Boulder Point area, and it's on a street called Ferndale, it's got views of Mitchell Lake in the back. It's got woods butted up to the side. It's gonna be right around 7. It's 3,200 square feet. New carpet, fresh paint throughout. That'll be coming, our intention is to come on right around March 1. But if you're thinking on, if you need something and you want to show it before we're on the market, we're happy to show it. Yeah, we're happy to show it. And then I've got a buyer looking to 1-4 who wants to be on recreational lake like Tonka or any of the smaller lakes that are recreational up to 1-4. Yeah, so anyway.
I have a buyer who I would really like you guys to find me a house for because they want to be on Lake Minnetonka and they'll spend up to 3 million. So would you please find me a house?
Any kind of house?
It would just make my day, maybe my month. Possibly my.
That might
year.
make my
No.
year. This is a door knocking opportunity, by
Yeah.
the way.
What was it?
Anywhere on the.
On Lake Minnetonka, up to 3 million.
That's it?
There's 3.3, it's gonna be a Denali with access to Beggarness Point, but it's not directly on lake, but it.
Can you tell me about it?
I mean, it's not my listing,
Oh.
but it's on the MLS. Okay. Here.
We have a fully renovated home coming on in Edina on Friday, 829.9, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Nice main level primary suite. And, that's in East Edina at like 61st and Cena. Then we have an off-market property in Minnetonka, Hopkins Schools. It's like kind of a smaller house, park-like setting. It's at 475, adjacent to Lake Rose in Minnetonka. If that means.
Anything else?
I do have a Lake Minnetonka listing coming on in April. That'll be $1.7 million. And that is 3,000 square feet, 3 levels, fully updated, 40 feet of lakeshore on Jennings. So it's a mound address.
All right, if you have anything else, always send it to Lydia, listen to what your needs, and she will get an email out later today. Thank you, guys. Did you have something to?
I just wanted to remind everyone that you have access to the roster and
Only-
you put notes on there, of people that are available for open houses.
Oh,
If you're looking for someone to do an open house, that's a good place to look.